live in action. That's what Park would say. I'm not sure if we're actually broadcasting yet, but I think we are. So is it 10 straight up? Woo! Hello everybody, and welcome to Get Organized Challenge number 7, Mountains of Mementos. And thank you so much for all your kind words and inspirations about what a great job Karen did last week while I was out of town. And you all have actually motivated Karen, because she, like many, and I think she confessed this to you, kind of stalls out on the photo organizing challenge. And so she was motivated this week to go home and get some stuff done. So thanks for motivating Karen, and thanks for your warm support of her taking over. All right, let's see if I can get my clicker to work. Got to put on my glasses. Welcome if you're new, if you're just jumping in to the Get Organized Challenge on this class. There'll be a little chat box that comes up on the screen. If you have a question, type the word in caps, or type question in caps, and then type your question, and Karen will watch for that and try to answer it for you. Each week we do give away a couple of prizes for people who've posted their progress. This week our winners are Laura Smalley Wall, and she says, I uploaded 1,000 photos to some online storage I purchased and added over 500 pics from my phone. Actually broke into a cold sweat, but I have more storage now. So way to go, Laura. Our second winner is Mary Pat Randall, and she has kind of a long post, which Karen will put up on the Facebook page. But in the process of organizing her photos this week, she discovered some photos left over from 1997, and was happy to remember or be reminded that prior to digital, she did organize everything chronologically, and so that was kind of a little bonus for her. She also was able to participate in a Creative Memories virtual crop, and she just goes on to talk about how much easier it is now that she's more organized to put things out, to bring things out, to create things, and then to put all her supplies away. So both Laura Smalley Wall and Mary Pat Randall are our winners this week. You can watch for your prizes to arrive in your email box from Karen. All right, let's jump in, shall we? Our goals for this challenge are to make it easy to find your journaling and memorabilia notes, adding journaling and memorabilia notes to your digital photos, and learning to create a holding album for project planning and sort of maximum efficiency. So our first step in this process is the same first step we almost always do during a challenge, and that is gathering all of those things together. So if you don't have a good way to organize your stuff now, it's probably stuffed into little cubby holes. There might be some in the junk drawer, some in your office drawer, your workspace drawer, some in big envelopes or bags. I'll tell you a little story. A girlfriend of mine asked me to come over and help her organize her craft room, and she said, I have all this memorabilia from all these trips we've taken as a family. And when I opened the doors to that cabinet, the cool thing about it was all of her memorabilia was in there. The funny thing about it was that it was all stuffed into shopping bags that she had bought things from on the trip, and they were just kind of stuffed in there and jumbled up, and you couldn't tell what was what, or how, what year things were or whatever. So it was kind of fun for me to pull all that stuff out with her and kind of get her organized. But hopefully you can gather all of those things together and get them in one space. That's going to be our first stop. And then you're going to use the same sorting templates or guides or family timeline that you used for photos. So presumably the memorabilia that you've collected is going to match with some photos, maybe not exact photos, but as you pull those things together using those those sorting templates or that family timeline is what's going to kind of keep you on track. So you're going to need to pull those out again. And then the other thing that's helpful, and I think I've talked about this before, is if you each year, right, or if you use a desk calendar each month, as those months come, as those months are over, if you take that calendar, this is from a desk blotter, and put it in the right place chronologically with your photos or your other mementos, then that's going to give you a lot of clues. So this is just one that I saved off my desk blotter, this was a school calendar from when my kids were in school, right? And so if your school gives you one of these, it's kind of a double bonus because it has all these fun pictures and maybe your kids in there. But because it has all the school holidays and all the school dates already on it. And then when you add your own little notes, everything's there. So if you take your old calendars, don't throw them away, but store them with the rest of your mementos, your memorabilia, then it's going to be really easy to go back and actually figure out, you know, what date that was or what week that was, or, you know, sometimes we think what week was spring break in 2014 or whatever. These kind of tools are going to be really helpful. So save your calendars right with everything else, and it's going to be super simple. Okay, before you start sorting your, oh, I have a little surprise too at the end of class today. I'm going to introduce a new product. Oh, okay. You have to choose your tools. How are you going to store your mementos? So there's several different ways that you can do it, right? So this is one of our, it's upside down. This is one of our card savers, and instead of putting cards in it, I used it to organize all the little leftover pieces or mementos from a trip that I took, and I can store this on the shelf with my scrapbook, right? So these are all the things that didn't get used in the scrapbook, but they follow along with that same trip. So this is the card saver. So you can choose something like this. This one, like I said, I used after, so it was the things that were left over. Just happened to be the closest thing on my cart here. Okay. You can use something like this. So this is one of these, if you're familiar with scrap rack pages. This is an expanding project planner. Sorry. They come like this in a pack of 5, right? So the expanding project planner, I wasn't here last week because I was on a cruise with my mom, and I just took one of these expanding project planners and I threw it in my suitcase. And then as I collected all the little bits and pieces from the cruise, I just stuffed them right into it. So now this is ready to go in my scrap rack, in my holding album, in my memento keeper, wherever I want to put it, and everything is already together and it's already protected, right? So this has a big long pocket on the front, and then like, I think this is like a 6x8 pocket, or yeah, 6x8 pocket, and then like 4x6 pocket here, right? So it's kind of, I've already kind of done the work. It's sorted and it's organized. I printed the itinerary for the cruise and put it in there, so it had all my little notes on it. So super easy way to keep everything together at one time. Same concept, different product, right? This is the collection keeper, which is normally used in a paper storage box. It's the same kind of idea. Smaller pockets on the front, bigger pocket on the back. This was when I went to China for the Canton Fair Show with my husband last year, all together, but it's all in one place. So it makes it really simple to get those things organized that way. All right, so what other choices do you have? You can use, this is a fab file, right? This is the 8.5 by 11 fab file. It has individual pockets in the inside of it. So if you are just looking for a way to get everything together for 1 year or one event or whatever, something like a box like this. So when you're looking for the tools you're going to use, boxes, file folders, you just want to make sure they're at least 8.5 by 11, right? So a lot of times we have lots of little tiny stuff that's mementos, but at least 8.5 by 11 here in the USA. If some of you are abroad, you need, I think it's called A4, a little bit longer. But you want to be sure that whatever tools you choose to organize your mementos, they are going to fit the majority of what you've got. So you can use something, any kind of box that's going to fit. You can use, if you are a club person and you get kit clubs in the mail and they come in that nice 12 by 12 box, that's all the same size. You can use that 12 by 12 box and then organize your mementos using those boxes as well, because they're all the same size, so they stack up really nicely. Manila envelopes work great. I already mentioned file folders, right? So this is just a giant manila envelope. So before you start organizing, you want to choose what sort of tools you're going to put everything in, or what sort of storage you're going to put everything in, and have that handy. Step number 3 is to sort and label. And so we're going to follow that same process as we did with, as we've done with everything else, the photos in particular, and just organize things chronologically and then by event, and then put them into a storage tool depending on what you're going to use. So it's this exact same process as we talked about last week with photos. Sort by year, and then break that year down into events, and then put those events into individual file folders or boxes or expanding project planners or whatever it is that you're going to use, and get them labeled. And then again, you want to store those things chronologically, because if you're working on your Disney album from 2014 and you've got mementos somewhere else, you want to be able to go right to the right space, in whether it's a storage box or using binders or file folders or these kind of boxes, and find them chronologically as well. All right, info to include, really important, is including with your mementos some little basic information. And the nice thing about, so this is called the event details and information sheet. It's pretty basic. It's on the Get Organized Challenge page of the website. If you want to print them off and use them, you can create your own as well. This is a good starting point, and it's easy if you just print the ones that we've got. But it just sort of motivates you to record about each event, date, time, place, who was there, and gives you some little space to write some extra journaling notes, right? One of the things that makes scrapbooks really interesting, or even if you're not putting together scrapbooks but just organizing things that future generations are going to see, is knowing a little bit of the history. Who was there? What was interesting? I think if Karen talked last week about photos and having your family sort with you and collecting those stories while you're sorting photos together as a family, this is kind of a perfect place to do that, right? So you can just write notes as people are talking about their memories from a family event versus your memories from a family event. So this is a download that's right on the Get Organized Challenge page of the website. All right, so we know we're going to sort, we're going to organize, we're going to sort by year, we're going to then organize by event, we're going to add some notes to each of those events, and then we're going to store them, whether it's in a box or a manila envelope or a file folder, in chronological order, whatever tool that you're using. Now remember, when you're choosing storage tools, you want to choose storage tools that work for the way that you craft, right? So, or the space that you have available, or protecting, you want to keep all those things in mind, protecting your mementos as you're going through the process. So if you're someone who always crafts at home, then a stack of 12 by 12 boxes in the closet is probably a really workable solution. It makes it really easy. If you need to be able to take your things with you, then maybe notebooks are an easier option. So think about how you craft. You've heard me say this for 6 classes now, how you craft, when you craft, where you craft, so that you're choosing the right tools that are actually going to work for the way that you do things. All right. Then what are we going to do? We're going to create a holding album. And a holding album or project planning album is just simply combining the photographs that you've taken with the mementos that you've got, and getting things all lined up so that when you're ready to scrapbook, it's really easy to do, right? So if you have ever sort of been paralyzed when you sit down to craft because you don't know what to start with, there's so many things to start with, that creating a holding album is going to be a really great way to do that. So this is this is a holding album that I created for a road trip that I took with my kids a couple of years ago. And I was creating albums for myself and then for each of the boys, right? So I made these are the major events that I was gonna scrapbook, and the number of pictures that I was going to use, whether they're printed, and then whether the album is done, right? So for the family, for London, and for Max, it made it really easy to keep track of all 3 albums and where I was in the process. So I have my little cheat note on the top, and that's just a simple Excel spreadsheet. So if you do multiple albums, that's a great way kind of to keep track of what you're doing. There is at one point, if you do multiple albums, at one point, I got really confused about where I was for everybody's books, right? Because I try to do all 3 books at the same time, but that doesn't always work out. So at one point I went through all my albums, all of London's, all of Max's, and created this list of what needed to be done and put spacers in their albums and all these things, and I did a blog post about it. So if you're somebody who creates multiple albums and you feel like you're getting confused about whose albums have been done for what, I think there's a link in the follow-up email that'll go out today to that blog post. It's an older post, but it will really kind of give you some step-by-step about how to get on track. Okay, now I'm going to get back on track with holding albums. So these are the Scrap Rack perfect 6 pages, and they hold 4x6 photos. So I've got all the pictures for each one of these events in the pocket, right? So these are the photos that I'm using for London's book, right? They're all there. There's 6 of them in one pocket, okay? So I know I have not scrapped that event in London's book because the pictures are still in here with the little label that says you're doing one layout for London. This side, however, is empty. So I know that I have scrapped all of those things for all 3 albums. My albums, London's albums, Max's albums. So it makes it really easy to do that. Now, if you're not doing multiple albums, this would be a double page layout, right? So if you're working on Disney pictures, this might be characters, rides, parade, right? But you're going to put 6 pictures on this side, if that's your number, 6 pictures on this side, and now you've got all the pictures for a double page spread. So when you sit down to work, you can just go to the next page in your holding album and get started on whatever it is that you're working on. So you can also easily store then mementos from that trip or that event in your pocket pages as well, right? Now, if I had at the time the expanding project planner, I could just already with everything in it, I could just clip it right in here because it's got that standard 3 ring, right? So I've got all my mementos together, and then I've got some 12 by 12 pockets that I've left empty. So as I finish pages, I can protect those pages until I'm ready to put the album together. So I've got the pictures, I've got the mementos, and I've got a place to store the finished pages. So especially if I'm crafting away from home, now I know that they're protected and right in there in the holding album. One of the questions I regularly get about holding albums is, should we put supplies in our holding albums? And the answer is yes and no. So remember, you want to keep things together that you would use together, but you also want to be able to see everything easily and not take things apart and put them back, right? So if I'm going to keep something in my holding album, it's going to be something incredibly specific. So this was a trip to SeaWorld, or one of the things we did was go to SeaWorld. I have SeaWorld stickers and SeaWorld paper and SeaWorld embellishments, and those are only going to get used at the SeaWorld trip. They're so specific, right? I don't have regular other beach paper in here. I don't have other things that could go with SeaWorld, but I have the SeaWorld specific things right there, right? So when I bought them, I put them right into the holding album because I knew that's where I was going to use them. And here's the other thing. When I'm done with this, the SeaWorld pages, whatever's in here is going to go into my purge box or my donate box or my giveaway box or whatever, because I'm not going to use those again. My SeaWorld stuff is done. Some of you are thinking, what if you go to SeaWorld again? Well, the odds are I will not be going to SeaWorld again until and unless and until my children have children, right? So SeaWorld's not somewhere that I would choose to go on my own. It's not my, the highlight of a trip for me, but it would be if I had grandchildren that I was taking there. And at that point, which hopefully, knock on wood, will be years from now because my kids are in college, I'm going to want to buy new stuff. I want to buy the new SeaWorld stuff, the cool SeaWorld stuff. We talked earlier about how scrapbooking is a fashion-forward hobby. There are different colors and different styles and designs, right? The SeaWorld paper and the SeaWorld icons are going to match whatever's happening not only in the world fashion-wise, but at SeaWorld at that time, right? So things like that you're going to get rid of. If I went on a trip, I just went on a trip with my mom to Panama, I'm probably never going to go back to Panama and Costa Rica. So I have Panama and Costa Rica stuff, and when I'm done with it, unless it's generic, it's going to go into my purge box, right? So you saw that. Then you also saw that I had China stuff from when I went last year. Well, I go to China for work regularly. So if I have extra China stuff, I'm probably going to keep that in my travel section because the odds are I'm going to be going back there, right? So don't keep a bunch of extra things that you're going to have to dig through or dig past for years that might not even match what you want or be on the same kind of trend years from now. Keep this stuff, though, if you repeatedly go somewhere, right? So I have a girlfriend, Merle. She might be on today, on the group today. She goes every year with her family to Mexico. So, of course, she's going to keep all her Mexico stuff because it makes sense as she moves forward, right? So keep that in mind. Same thing with things like sports. And, you know, if you have a kid that is a pole vaulter like mine, I have all this track and field stuff. But once I finished his track and field pages, the chances of me pole vaulting or running the 400-meter relay are slim and none, so I can move on from all that stuff. So keep that in mind as you're organizing. I know I'm on a little rant, right? So this is going to allow you, and this one for me is this entire trip. So when I'm ready with my holding album, let's get this turned around here, I can just grab this. Now, this can go in the Spinder binder that we have a couple of different 12 by 12 binders. One is called the Spinder binder, and it has Velcro in it. The other one is called the 12 by 12 craft binder, and the Spinder is riveted into that binder. So the craft binder is a great tool for creating your holding albums as well, right? So, and I don't think that's on the list. Karen can maybe add a link to that or something in the email. But so a great way to put all that stuff together. The nice thing about using a 12 by 12 binder or even the 12 by 12 boxes is that if you do have big things or finished pages, those things are all going to go together for you in one place. So the holding album is going to allow you to organize your stuff together, keep it chronological, make it portable, so if you're going to an event or if you have to bring it from another space to your workspace, and it's also going to help you know what you've already completed. So when I'm finished with the four corners area scrapbook pages, if I have any mementos left, I know I can get rid of them. Or I could do something like this and put them into a separate storage thing, you know, near the album. But a lot of times we keep all these extra mementos and stuff because we're unsure if we're going to need them again. Creating a holding album is good for your brain because you're able to see, yes, I'm completely done with that. And then you can either get rid of those mementos. You know, as scrapbookers, we tend to collect more things than we need, right? So if you go to a restaurant and they have a cool coaster, you might take 3 or 4 coasters or 2 or 3 matchbooks, wherever those still exist, and those types of things, or walking maps when you're on some kind of trip. So you have more than you need, so you can give it up in good conscience, right, if you know that that's what you've got going on. Another option, and this is only available at Home Shopping Network on HSN, and I think there's a link to it on our website, but this is the Memento Keeper, right? And we are sold out of them, but Home Shopping Network, I know, I just looked on their website the other day, and they still have some left. But this album or this book allows you to keep a big bulky thing. So this is loaded with, you know, all those things that your kids make that you don't want to throw away, little art projects and schoolwork and that type of thing. And it's just all together in here. This is Max's. But again, because it's 3-ring, if I wanted to add the perfect 6 photo pages, I could add those right in here. So now I've got the mementos and the photos for whatever this goes with, and it's all together in one place on the shelf. So when I'm ready to scrap that, I've got everything together. So the Memento Keeper is a nice option for that as well. All right. You can also do a holding album in 8.5 by 11, which is the first way that I did them. These pages are available at your local camera store, if you still have a local camera store, and they generally have pocket pages like this with pockets for 4 by 6, 5 by 7, and 8 by 10, which also fits in a regular page protector, right? But the same thing, I've got the mementos, I've got my notes about that event, I've got the pictures, so now even if I just put this in a regular notebook, I can pull it off the shelf and get busy on my scrapbooking project pretty quickly and pretty easily, right? So, getting your things organized chronologically and then setting yourself up to actually be able to be very productive when you're crafting and staying focused with a holding album is going to really make things a little bit more simpler, and you're going to be able to get more done. So a holding album is a great option for that. I didn't keep up with my list. Okay, but one thing I left out was another printable. So this was sent to us by Jill Cooper, and as you're planning those, and this is especially helpful if you're going somewhere to a craft event, right? So what she created here were just these little square boxes where she could do a quick sketch of each layout that she was planning on doing, and then she made a note here, do I have, you know, the embellishments and the photos and the background paper for doing each of those things. So if you're somebody who really likes to page plan, and when you're going to an event, page planning is definitely the way to maximize your productivity, then using this little printable is going to help you make sure that you have everything, and you have everything condensed down into the smallest sort of possible organization system to actually get those things done. So again, this is on the Get Organized Challenge page of our website as printable. All right, let's see, going through. Oh, also you'll notice that I use dividers in my holding album here. And rather than write on the dividers, I just used sticky notes for each section of the divider, or what was behind that divider. And this makes it really easy because if you're creating a holding album, once you're done with that project, you want to reuse those dividers or those pages for your next project. So if you don't write on the dividers, it makes it easy to pull off the sticky notes and then just relabel them for whatever's coming next in your supply. Okay. So that is going to wrap up this week. I'm going to go over this week's challenge. I do want to tell you that I posted up the handout for this week and then realized that the checklist of things that you are going to need to do, your assignment, was missing something. So I'm going to read through this week's challenge and I'll tell you which one was missing. So if you have an older version, I did repost it today with all the current assignments in it, but I'm kind of giving Karen a heads up so that she can get questions up here. This is always where I stall a little bit, so Karen has some time. All right, and I'm trying to see if there's anything else on my cart that I need to show you. No. All right, so sort. So here's your challenge. Here's what you need to do this week. You want to sort your memorabilia into a filing or storage system. Now, if you are a digital scrapbooker and that is all you do, your filing system is going to be scanning all those mementos and all that memorabilia and getting it into the same file folder with your photos, right? So when you're ready to work on your digital albums, you can get your photos and your mementos, and they're all together in one place. There was something else that I thought about that was about. Someone asked me about that specifically. Do I keep a separate file folder for like digital mementos? And I don't. They go right in with the photos. So I told you that I was just on this cruise with my mom. Well, the cruise line sent us things like itineraries and things to do and all that kind of information via email, generally as PDFs. And I just saved those PDFs right in the file folder with the photos. So when I'm ready to print the photos, I can refer back to those, I can print them, I can use them in the scrapbook, whatever I want to do, but I just put all those things together in one file folder. So again, the less clicks you have to do to get to the things that you want to use, the better. But don't be afraid to throw a Word document in. If you kept a journal the whole time you were on a trip, or all the way through your pregnancy or whatever it is, throw it right into that, store it right there with the pictures, and they'll be easy to reference later. All right. So this week's challenge: 1, sort your memorabilia into a filing or storage system, whatever you're going to use. This is what's missing off your handout if you downloaded it earlier. Create an incoming memorabilia or mementos station. So we talked about with scrapbooking supplies and with stamps or punches or dies, that if you have a little area set aside where all the tools that you need to add those things to your storage system or add them to your catalog are handy, then it's going to be easy to do, and you're probably going to do it. Do the same thing here. If you are going to use, file folders or memento keepers or boxes or whatever it is, have that little area. Maybe it's going to be a box or a bin that's in a cabinet somewhere that you can pull out and have everything you need to organize, label mementos in one place, so that it's easy to get that done as well. So that's the thing that's missing, or was missing until this morning, off the list for today. Label your memorabilia with the location of the coordinating pictures and the journaling notes. So if if I have, and Karen probably talked about this last week, photos, and I'm going to label the photos with where the mementos are if I'm keeping them separately, and vice versa, the mementos where the photos are. So if I had these, this one fits in a paper storage box with a label, right? So if I had all these types of mementos in paper storage boxes labeled by date, I would just put a note on the photos that, hey, the mementos for these are in the paper storage box under, this is 2017, right? So that I would know as soon as I found the photos where the mementos were. Likewise, I would put a note in here that says photos that match this trip are stored under family photos, China, 2017, right? So I would lead myself to the photos with the mementos and lead myself to the mementos by some indicator that I had with the photos. Now you can just put a note in the digital, like I said, like a Word document in the digital file with your photos that says the mementos from this trip are located here or there, whichever way. But you want to link those things back so it's easy to find them. If you've ever created a page or scrapbook and then later found the mementos for that event or trip, it's so disheartening because you're already done, right? So if you tie the two things together and it's easy to find them and it's easy to take them out or bring them to your workspace or go to an event with them, that's going to be key. So make sure what you're doing is setting yourself up for easiness. Create an online journal on your desktop so you can easily add to it. If you use a smartphone, which most of us do now, include the journal in your sync function so that you can add notes using your phone. One of the reasons I believe people don't journal or add all the details is because they can't quite remember, right? So if you make it easy to journal, then you probably will. So a simple Word document, and I use mine in reverse. So if I'm going to go into my online journal today and make a note, it goes at the top, right? I don't have to scroll through page after page. So the newest thing is at the top of the page. Your online journal doesn't need to be super complicated. It doesn't need to be really long. It can be if you love to write or you have a really good story, especially if you have little kids, because little kids always do things and say things that are, well, I always tell people they're the things that get us through the teenage years, right? When you can think back about your kid doing something cute or funny or silly when they're kind of an annoying teenager, then it makes it easier to not think they're such annoying teenagers, right? So really important. You can do that easily on your desktop and you can do it on your phone. And if it's on your phone and you're sitting at soccer practice or you're on the bus ride home from work, it's easy to pull your phone out and just jot down a few notes about what happened that day, right? So keep it simple, but start a journal somewhere that you can easily reference. Start a holding album for your next event or for your next project. So, or it could be for the current project that you're working on. One of the questions that people always ask me is, should I do holding albums for everything? And no, don't do them for everything. Do them for the project that you're working on or the next project that you're going to work on. Otherwise, what you're going to do is just spend all your time putting together holding albums, right? So get your photos organized chronologically, get your mementos organized chronologically, start a holding album for your current project, and when that holding album's empty, then take a couple of hours and set up the holding album for your next project. So as you move through your next project, everything you need is right there with you. Sort 1 container of other stuff. Sort 4 inches of paper, if you're still doing paper. Post on Facebook what you got done, your progress post, and then definitely enjoy your reward. Woo! Right? Rewards are really important. They fire off your brain, they make you happy, and they keep you motivated and inspired. So, with that said, I'm going to show you our latest and greatest product, which just arrived yesterday. Oh, it's very exciting. Our latest and greatest is a member of what family? The Buddy Bag family. This is Denise, and Denise is our latest and greatest Buddy Bag. And when you put her all together, she's similar to Sue in that the way that little handle is on the front and the way that the lid closes around the top. So now this is the prototype that you're seeing right now. So it has a couple of little flaws in it. I won't point them out to you, but you might notice them as you're looking. So what's unique about Denise is that she has 3 small skinny boxes in the bag. And these small skinny boxes are what allows anything that you're organizing in the Denise Buddy Bag to stand up and work like a file. So you can see I've got unmounted stamps. I've got unmounted stamps and dies together. This is our medium-sized die stamp and stencil pocket, which are included in the Denise bag. So you get the bag, you get all 3 boxes, you get a packet of 25 of the medium pockets, which is what fits in the bag, and you get a set of our small shut your flap labeling tabs, right? So I use the labeling tabs on the actual items themselves, right? These are flower stamps. This is a fairy stamp, or you can use them to label the whole boxes. So maybe your entire box has Christmas dies in it and you want to label the box that way. You can do it either way, right? What else fits in here? Cards. So cards that you've made that you're waiting to send are going to fit in there. Embossing folders are going to fit in there, and I have my little labels on my embossing folders as well. So anything that's kind of within that 4x6 size is going to fit neatly into the Denise bag. And then, so whether you're grouping things by type of product, by catalog numbers, so if you catalog your embossing folders and you have a ton of them, this is a great way to put them kind of all in one place and have it portable, right? Like all of our Buddy Bags, it's clear, so if you want to label the front embossing folders so that when you put it on the shelf, it's easy to pull out, or it might be a catalog number 1 through 25, or you can actually fit more than 25 things in the box. It just depends how thick they are, right? So obviously, if you're doing all red rubber stamps, which are fatter, you're going to get less than if you're doing dies, which are much thinner, right? So either way. So this is Denise, and she is brand new, just arrived yesterday, and currently available on our website today as well. So if you have questions about Denise, you can certainly ask Karen right now while she is finishing up answering questions, and then you'll see an email and those kind of things about Denise as well. So I think that wraps it up for this week. I don't have any questions from Karen, so I think we're all ready, free to get started. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to seeing your progress post. Oh, and I'll be gone again next week because there's a couple things I need to tell you. Next week is home shopping. March 7th is home shopping 24-hour craft day, and they have got that day loaded with all kinds of crazy good stuff. So I started seeing what they call the flow sheets, which are all the things that they're going to air that day started coming in today. So it's going to be a great day. A lot of your favorites and mine on HSN March 7th. I won't be here, so Karen will be doing the last Get Organized challenge, which is traveling with your supplies, and she's going to show you kind of a new thing that we have coming out in the summer. So watch for that. Last but not least, the Pleasanton Scrapbook Expo is this weekend. So I am leaving today to head down to California for the Pleasanton Scrapbook Show. So if you're in the Bay Area, Central California area, and you're looking for something super fun to do this weekend, come out to Pleasanton and join us at the Scrapbook Expo there. I will have the new 2018 Get Organized Challenge Girl button. So if you got the button last year at the show, you can pick up a button from me at the Pleasanton show. If you are a Get Organized Challenge Girl, but not coming to a show, if you just put a little note in your next order that says, please send me a GOC 2018 button, the next time you place an order, Brandy will include that with your order. She'll probably pin it to your invoice or something like that, so keep your eyes open for it. All right, that's it. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you at the Scrapbook Show or on HSN, and you'll see Karen next week for Traveling with Her Supplies.